Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cornbread and Roses. This is Austin, your friendly neighborhood organizer, and I'm here tonight with Jason.
Hello, comrades.
And we're expecting a guest after they get done with their meeting, and they had a couple meetings today, and we'll be talking to Marissa, but and then conspiracy theories, uh, and this week in socialism, talk about the No Kings event across the country and world, and then try to hit on some Alabama related articles. Oh, Tree Bark, welcome. Good to see you. Good to have you. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so, as we wait on our illustrious guest, um, we'll just hit a couple memes up first. So bear with me because if you don't know, we are the most unprofessional podcast in the state of Alabama, but and the United States, possibly the universe. But we're also the only socialist podcast in Alabama. So hey, outstanding. A little Alabama related one, not exactly a meme, but close enough. Uh, we got Tuberville saying that Gavin Newsom needs him to be arrested and lock him up. LA looks like a third world country. Anarchists are in charge, which is kind of funny. Uh, Law enforcement is being attacked, and the rule of law is non-existent. Uh, and
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, and Newsom responds, Alabama has 3 times the homicide rate of California. Its murder rate is ranked third in the entire country. Stick to football, bro. Yeah, not a bad comeback there, Mr. Newsom. But yeah, and you know what? You're right, Tree Bark. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to me and to all the fathers out there, and happy Father's Day, my dad. Love you. And you know, hey, you can't go wrong with a good dad, right? Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Uh, Slaps the roof of USA. This bad boy can fit so many protests in it. Yes, sir. Uh, Last I heard, there was something like 2,000 protests uh, across the country. I know there's a lot in Europe too, a whole lot in Europe. That mean the No Kings protests, and there's also been ICE protests throughout that's spreading throughout the states as well. There was at least 35 a few days ago that I last looked. I can't pass by a good, don't tread on me meme. This one, we got the snake with the ball gag and the MAGA hat on, with their collared up on the leash with tread on me, daddy.
Not that we
Yeah,
kink shame around here, but
no, yeah, if that's what your consent is and you signed up for all that, hey, more power to you. Always happy to see an Alabama related one. This is a cartoon from the Alabama Media Group. Got Alabama Power with black coal smoke. We have a new public service commissioner from the cult of the Alabama uh, right there. Or no, I think that's the Alabama Power sign. Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Cynthia Lee Almond is her name. She's replacing
Cynthia Lee,
Cynthia
Twinkle
Lee
Toes.
Almond. Yeah, she's replacing Twinkle Kavanaugh, who is joining the Trump administration.
Yeah, as what was it? She's becoming something like a Alabama Public Commission. It's something she's still gonna be around here. It looks like a lot.
No, she was
It's
appointed
not
to
like,
the USDA.
but for Alabama is what I thought. No,
Oh yeah, you're right. Alabama State Director for Rural Development at the USDA.
yeah.
So,
Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate that. Yes. See, look how smart. Look how smart our viewers are.
they're more
They
together
own
than
it.
we are.
Doggone it.
They're more on it than we
We
are.
got. Yeah, that's what we like, though. Uh, got Alien versus Predator, right there. It's pretty good. Pretty good with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Look at that. Look at that face on him. Like, what is that? You know, I know what this is over here. Like, this is, but like, is he trying to like suck his soul through his eyes or something?
I don't know. I'm sure it's it's a feeling that you have to take a lot of ketamine to understand.
Yeah. He just, it's like, I will dominate. And that's it. Maybe that's what it looks like. I will own you. I own you. You're mine. I believe, well, with a South African accent. That's not a South African, an Afrikaner's accent. Thank you. Uh, you're out there, you know, you see the Nazi symbol. You're like, what can I do with this? Well, here's a suggestion for you. You know, turn it into a box, finish it off, throw a little LV, a little line, make it a W, and we got love wins out there. A couple more lines, you know, and you know, paint it up as you can. But that's pretty slick. I love that. You know, turning that into something as beautiful as love wins, and hooray, you just did a crime. Uh, Kinda. I don't know if I'd consider that a crime.
Anarchist calisthenics. You got to do a little. You got to do little stuff first, and then build your way up to doing bigger things. So it's the
Yes,
often
start with
posting and graffiti.
yeah. Start with, you know, get some jaywalking in there.
That's right.
What have you? You know, maybe put some gum on the bottom of a table.
Oh, that's gross.
Maybe not.
That's going too
Maybe
far.
don't do that. Yeah.
That's total anarchy, man.
But y'all get the idea. Build up to it. You got this right here. 2003, Democrats fund ICE. 04, 05, 06, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Democrats denounce ICE. 18, 19, 20, 21. Democrats fund ICE again. 2022, Democrats break funding record for ICE. 2023, Democrats break funding record for ICE. 24, break funding records for ICE. 2025, Democrats denounce ICE. Isn't that funny how they go about that?
It's amazing how that works.
It
yeah,
is.
abolish ICE is the moderate position at this point. Like, I think the radical far left demand is they should go to The Hague and face Nuremberg trials.
Yeah, I don't think they fall under the provision. I think that's only the military, so they could probably get shipped off there then. See how they like it.
Police force.
Now I saw a couple of related things to this, but seat fillers needed June 14th, Constitution Avenue, DC. I wonder what's happening then. T-Melon events, and it's also Fight LLC. They were looking for folks to fill the seats at the birthday party of the army / birthday party of, you know, that fucking guy. And they were paying with crypto apparently. And I saw advertising for up to $1,000 for getting a seat there. So yeah. And I like this little part. We encourage people of color and ethnic groups to sign up for maximum perception control. And these individuals will be prominently displayed broadcast and local viewing screens to be seen by the VIP platform.
Is this real?
Ain't that nice? I saw a couple things related to it. See, flat fee of $1,000, paid in cryptocurrency. Fight. They misspelled their middle fight, but yeah, this is posted on Craigslist.
It said they will be providing a lunch of fast food and a soda.
Yeah. Oh, and it didn't work. It did not work. Not even $1,000 of fake money could get people to show up.
Along with McDonald's, free McDonald's.
You know, let's see here. Got a couple more to share. Skincare tip number 8647. You always need to give your products time to absorb fully before applying another. Do while you wait. Try calling your senators and representatives while you wait. It takes only a couple minutes. Copy a message from 5calls.org. Find their numbers on their websites. Make the call. Best one used during your morning and evening routine. It really works. Yes, psychological pressure works. Do it. And one more. I'm gonna kind of speed through this one. We got Kanye's tweet in the background, and we got some lyrics here. It looks like hope that our few remaining friends give up on trying to save us.
I love that song, by the way. No Children by the Mountain Goats. It's a brilliant song.
I hope we come up with a fail-safe plot to piss off the dumb few that forgave us. I hope the fences we mended fall down beneath their own weight.
I hope we hold on past the last exit. I hope it's already too late.
There you go. See, you saying you can't sing. There, you're bringing a tune along. In my life, I hope I lie and tell everyone you were a good wife. And I hope when you think of me years down the line, you can't find one good thing to say. And I'd hope that if I found the strength to walk out, you'd stay the hell out of my way. I'm drowning. There is no sign of land. You're coming down with me. Hand in unlovable hand. And I hope you die. I hope we both die.
Oh, Mountain Goats in concert when I lived in San Francisco. It was really cool.
Yeah, I've not really listened to the Mountain Goats. Where are they from?
I don't know where they're from.
Well, that's all right. But yeah, I can hear you typing. Bring it on home.
Claremont, California.
Oh, I have a friend that I grew up with that came from Claremont, as a matter of fact. Ain't that funny? All right. That's the memes. Moving on to now, we had a choice this week on conspiracies because there's so many out there, and we'll get to the election one eventually. But we're going back to Epstein.
Back to Epstein.
Yeah. Breaking: Epstein's secret photos of Donald Trump with young girls may have been found. Potentially forces Congress to impeach and remove him. Why didn't you not? Where's the rest of you? Oh, God. You bastards. Well, it went on to say there's a wolf fella, a journalist, who said he saw pictures back in 2016 of Trump with half nude women. I think either in Florida or up in New York. And along in this thread here, they went on to talk about that 30 GOP congressmen swear to impeach Trump if this was true. And is it Green? I can't remember. Who's the congressman that got thrown out during the State of the Union address? Is it? I can't remember his name.
His first name was Al.
Yes.
Stand by. I forgot. I blanked on his name too.
I keep wanting to say Al Green, but that don't sound right. Oh, look. Elizabeth knew. She knew who we were talking about.
Elizabeth, why aren't you doing the show instead of us?
This is the real question. Yeah, Elizabeth, if you ever want to come on and grace us with your presence, and talk about what's on your mind and here in the state of Alabama and around the globe, we love you. Yeah, for sure. We can tell you that. Smarter than the average bear.
There's no question about that.
All right. So apparently the thing has not died off, has not died away. Journalist is coming out saying he's seen pictures. And, I saw a clip of Kash Patel on Joe Rogan when the tweet dropped by Musk about the Epstein files and Trump, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. I know my lane," which begs the question: what is the lane of the director of the FBI, if not crime within the United States of America? But who knows? Clearly, it's not that. Maybe it's crypto. That seems more likely. I didn't realize this. He apparently at some point was a public defender, which
Kash Patel
apparently by the way he was talking, which blows my mind that he could be a public defender and have gone so far away from a incredibly honorable profession, possibly the most honorable profession a lawyer in the lawyering area you can do.
Wow.
But I don't know.
Professional career began. This is from Wikipedia. Patel's professional career began in the Miami-Dade area. He worked as a public defender in the Miami-Dade County, Florida, representing violent criminals and drug traffickers, and later as a federal public defender for the Southern District of Florida.
What are you doing, Kash? What the hell are you doing? Man, so ain't that crazy? Kash Patel, defender of the public.
Never would have guessed.
That's about there. Yeah. So I think that's about all I can remember from this tweet, which has several thousand replies. So with that,
I don't know. I wish they had the dirt on him, because that means that somebody can find it and release it. But
yeah,
seems like it would have come out by now. I wonder how credible this Michael Wolff guy is. He wrote a book in 2018 called Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House, and it talked about like chaotic interactions and derogatory comments by Steve Bannon. Interesting.
Well, I know I wouldn't be surprised if first day in office Trump asked for all them pictures and started trying to flush them down the toilet. You know,
Right.
but yeah, there is still something with them files, and largely my guess is that it implicates the duopoly, both parties
Exactly.
in it, and it's kind of a mutually assured destruction thing as to why they don't want them released in general. So that's my guess on it.
That's my guess too. Like there aren't many conspiracy theories that I go for, but yeah, I think that a lot of high profile people are implicated in the Epstein files. And yeah, exactly. We already know how Elizabeth says we already know how he feels about classified documents, so destruction isn't a far reach. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Including Noam
Mm-hmm.
Chomsky. Noam Chomsky visited with Epstein, and when asked about it, told journalists it was none of their business. So what's up with Noam Chomsky and Epstein? Like that's pretty
Oh my
disappointing.
God.
Yeah.
Did Chomsky manufacture consent?
I think you may have.
Oh God. Oh God. Yeah. Uh, so like maybe we do these on the Epstein file at some point, because it is just incredible. It's a spider web, not like Operation Spider Web with the drones, but uh, it's something much more nefarious. Much more nefarious. 'Cause I cannot conceive that it doesn't involve hundreds upon hundreds of victims, especially given the amount of time Epstein operated at such a high financial level. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, I'm just surprised I haven't heard of folks in the 80s. Uh, I heard some victims in the 90s. So he at least started in the 90s with this stuff. So, yeah. So that brings us to this week in socialism. So, yeah, we got a couple things from our handy dandy calendar. This is the art for June. Oh, look, it actually showed up. So,
What is that depicting? Is it some sort of abstract expressionism or?
Yes, that's what I'm getting at it. Looks, is it what is it titled? Damn it, there's not a title for the piece of art. But to me, it's like a rainbow network of. Oh, come on!
It's not showing up.
Maybe if I shake it like it, there
you go.
Kind of works there.
It looks like almost like cubism a little bit. Like it makes me think of the WPAP style paintings.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do actually. Oh, before this week in socialism, we're gonna swing it over to our guest. Oh, hey Marissa, welcome. We got through the memes and the conspiracy as we patiently waited for your appearance. Thank you for coming. It's so good to have you. I don't know if you'd like to. Why don't you take a moment just to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hey y'all. Good to see you both. Yeah, so I'm Marissa Allison, and I know these two through DSA, and a lot of activists and community organizing around town here in Huntsville. I'm here today representing Athroot Collective, where I do community organizing as well. And I think we're going to talk a bit about the People's Movement Assembly that we're going to be having this upcoming Saturday. Excited to be here with y'all. You're doing good.
It's so awesome to have you,
Yes,
folks.
yes, great to have you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't
folks
say
is
enough
one of
kind
my
words about
favorite
Melissa.
people in the world right here. So I might fawn a little bit as we speak with her. But yeah, Jason, you had a couple questions. Maybe we start with you before we move into asking about the People's Movement Assembly.
Yeah, I just wondered if you would tell us a little bit more about At the Root and what sort of work they do.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, y'all. Of course.
You're a busy lady.
My one of my kids' friends calls on my Discord, and I thought I'd turn that off. Yeah. Yeah. So At the Root is, we started out as just a group of community members who came together when the library started getting attacked here. And we had a particular situation that happened here in Huntsville at the Huntsville-Madison County Public Library, where the former library director decided that she was going to just unilaterally move over 100 and something books out of the children's section and into the adult section. Most of those books were about the LGBT community. The LGBTQ community, of which I'm a part of. And I quickly was like, all right, got to get down to the library and see what's going to go on. So we showed up at a library board meeting. And next thing I know, I was just in the middle of organizing with a group of folks. And we've now shifted. Obviously, the things happening in libraries are connected to a lot of other things that are happening in our world. The library, as we say, is just the stage for the sort of moral panics that are being waged against so-called critical race theory and the transgender community in particular, but also the LGBTQ community more broadly, and really just, the having critical thinking skills in general. So now what we've shifted into is as a part of the Southern Movement Assembly, which formed into, they say, formation after Hurricane Katrina, which we're coming up on a big anniversary of. And I think that was a turning point to realize that if we just keep looking at and talking to the people in power to try to make things change without simultaneously making sure that we have a parallel infrastructure where we are protecting one another in our own communities, then we're going to be left out in the cold. Those people in power are not interested in change. And so our collective is part of the Southern Movement Assembly, and the People's Movement Assembly we'll be having on Saturday will be the first one here. And we'll talk about that more later. But the organization in and of itself is moving in a direction to work on creating that sort of solidarity at the community level. Our name comes from an Angela Davis quote, that radical means grasping things at the root. And so we're all just committed to that and committed to supporting one another and loving one another and creating here the sort of world that we want to see in the future.
Yeah, so following up on that, like when you talk about creating the world you want to see in the future, a lot of your internal structures and processes kind of mirror that a little bit. Like I know y'all use sociocracy in your decision making. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. This has been a recent change for us. And I should say, I introduced myself, but I didn't say I come from a background in social movements and social movement academic work as well. So I have a PhD in sociology and public sociology. And so I had learned about sociocracy as sort of in the ivory tower and had been reading about it and was super interested. And it is just a different governance model that's what they call a horizontal governance model. And I think a lot of times in our organizing work, we tend to just mimic the same sort of systems of oppression that exist in the world. And one of those is the sort of top-down decision-making that, really, like we would say, the last thing the fish would notice is the water. That's a quote by a fellow named Ralph Linton, and who was a cultural anthropologist. And I think that that's the thing that it applies to us as well around power, is that when power is around us, we often sort of grab it up and try to take it. And in those ways, we're just mimicking the systems of oppression that exist more broadly. And that goes for governance as well. And so we have just over this past year been shifting to this model of sociocracy, which is similar, like your audience members have probably heard of consensus-based decision-making, and it's very similar, but it's based off the principles of consent. So safe enough that you make decisions using this phrase, good enough for now and safe enough to try. And so in a typical meeting, folks will make a proposal for an action or something a campaign that they want to do. Everyone has a chance to talk about it. We go through rounds and rounds of trying to understand it, making sure we're kind of staying true to the mission that we have, which again is trying to pull things up at the root. And that our actions are reflective of that. And it's honestly like moving from the sort of ivory tower understanding of it to the actual boots on the ground practice of it. It has been such a game changer for our organizing, but it's just been a game changer for me. I've been doing community organizing for over 20 years now. And it's just such a significant difference. I leave meetings happy. That's a meeting I just got off of that ran over late. But, the things that happen in there are just wonderful, because then what you see is that everybody has a voice. The things that we, kind of tend to come up, especially in groups that, people come in with different levels of privilege, and the way that those privileges show up is minimized, and it just creates a system that helps us to unlearn a whole lot of things that we just fall into naturally.
Well put. I find it a very interesting model and something to shoot for, in organizing spaces. And, my experience, a lot of times, we use, 50+1 in DSA right now. But honestly, when we do things and have votes, almost all the time our votes are unanimous, I find. So with the sociocracy stuff, that's what you kind of get at the end of it, is on the same page, right?
Yeah, that is correct. And I would agree. Typically what happens in DSA when we vote on things is people are pretty unanimous in it. And that's great. And at some point we won't be, though. And if the situation is that we have a 50+1 vote, then you have over half your people who are technically losing. And that immediately is setting up the ground for, bifurcation of efforts and factions being created. And, that's just part of being a human, that we would, sort of respond that way. So the idea with sociocracy is that when those things come up, we actively work towards coming to a resolution until people are all feel comfortable enough to try something out. And even if it's a situation where you're I really don't think I want to do this, but I'm willing to try it, even though I don't think it's going to work. And then you can just come to an agreement that, okay, we'll do this for a month. and then we'll circle back and see, if it did work. It's like having a good romantic relationship. Lots of communication, lots of transparency, not just majority role.
Yeah. That's interesting to think about, like bringing up like 50+1, and then a plurality don't agree. Like from my raising, whatever my military experience, like I haven't. If the vote didn't go my way, I would still fall in line. But it seems that that's not a typical thing for people to do, to just like, even if you disagree, to get behind something and try it anyway. So I don't know. I think the sociocracy model, especially for smaller groups, this idea should spread more, because I think it's highly functional for smaller groups and gets more buy-in. Some of the pushback on is like with larger groups, how it would work and the speed of it and stuff like that. Like, and I've heard some people crazy ass things say it doesn't sound very democratic.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
So I'll respond to the first part first. It's something we're also trying here in North Alabama is to create a spokes council. And that is what sociocracy would look at, a larger model. And the idea of that is that you have, it's the same within sociocracy and larger structures, is that you have a 2-person model at every level. So say you have a small organization that has different committees, or in sociocracy, we call them circles. And so each of those circles will have 2 people within that circle, one person who reports out from that committee, and one person from the outside who reports into that committee. So you have like a double communication that's happening. And those people are not decision makers for the smaller group. Those people then become the spokes, meaning that they communicate information back to the smaller group, and then up to the larger group. And then decisions that are made at that next level with those 2 people involved. Oh, wonderful. This is great. Then decisions that are made at the next level, the larger level there, will have 2 people from that smaller group. And so everything that's made will just be a report back and a report up. I have actually been it's been fascinating to me, because in our group, we actually are making decisions significantly faster. We've now gotten into this sort of routine where, people are ready to and know that they're going to be able to offer a critique or put in an objection, or just, you still have the option to say, like, I do not agree with this at all, and I want to put a block to it. I don't want us to do this. And with that, it stops at that point. And then if things need to be addressed, then they do get addressed. And what that does is it irons out the problems that become the breakage points in larger organizations as they grow up, go up and get larger. So what we're hoping will happen with the North Alabama Spokes Council is that we will have members from different organizations, just different groups, or it may grow at some point to have folks representing certain marginalized communities, and they would be their own circle. And in that space, what happens is that we start to functionally think about, how do we, as movement makers who are working towards a leftist vision of society, then how do we move in a way that isn't bringing in some of the things from the old world that we don't want to bring in? So I see you're like showing a whole lot of stuff. And so to the second point, oh yeah, I see about the Quakers. We should actually talk about that if y'all want to. And I see you're showing something about the feedback loops as well. And so those feedback loops are exactly that, those two people that you have, someone who reports to the larger group, someone from the larger group that points to the smaller group, or to two different circles that are at the same level. And so you constantly have communication happening. And I would actually say that it is good for larger structures if everyone knows how, it operates. It's actually less of a learning curve to me than, these guys know, I'm constantly talking about Robert's Rules of Order and getting frustrated by them. I have a lot of critiques of Robert's Rules of Order. That's really hard. Most people who walk in off the street, just aren't going to know how they can effectively participate in a space that is using that. And so, in fact, it's less democratic in my estimation. And I'm sure, I've been in board meetings where people will use Roberta, or what's the one, Rusty,
Yep.
that are taking into account for class-based differences or gender-based differences or race-based differences. They're still at the core of these sort of hierarchical structures, like a sort of gate that you have to go through in order to be able to participate equally. And if we're working towards, a horizontal sort of leadership model or governance model, then we have to really think about that. So to the second point, I would actually say this is the most democratic because everyone's voice matters and everybody can be a part of it. There are methods, like as you get larger, if you have people who are purposefully disruptive, there are methods to get people out, or you have to be operating in good faith in the process.
Yeah. Got to be a good commoner.
That's right.
Well, I know you don't have a whole lot of time, and I know how busy you are, and I know how much work you did yesterday, and you've already had, 2 or 3 meetings today. And so thank you very much for being here. So I thought we'd try to ask some questions about, how is about the People's Movement Assembly and at the Roots part in it, and the event that's coming up this Saturday. So how is the People's Movement Assembly different from other political organizing?
Yeah, I think anyone who's gone to a meeting held by an organization that is supposed to be a change-making organization knows that often you walk into a space and people will tell you what's going on and what you need to do. And a People's Movement Assembly works in the exact opposite way. So we come in and community members will be able to decide and speak about and bring forward what their frontline needs are. And we develop together collectively through a facilitated conversation over the day, a way to move from trying to understand what our frontline needs are in the community to developing an actual plan of action. So we've been training for this, and I've done a couple PMAs before and been a part of the facilitation team. This is kind of the first rodeo where I'm one of the people who has done it before, and we're all sort of learning together, but it's not a hard process to figure out. And in a lot of ways, it's probably the most grassroots way of moving from mobilizing to organizing. I'll say we're in this very particular moment right now where a lot of people are mobilized, and that's good and that's important. And we also can already see the signs, as a social movement scholar, like we can already see the signs of burnout beginning to happen. And if we lose folks who are right now just enraged and acting on anger and sadness within the system, if we can move them from just being mobilized to actually realizing that they have the tools in their hands for us to push back and resist in real and meaningful ways, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, you know, you started on things, but at some point that anger needs to get focused and transform into a different type of energy, because I don't know about y'all, but I've been angry at times in my life for extended periods of time, and it is not healthy, y'all. It is not healthy. And it does lead to burnout and everything, because like every emotion has its use and stuff, but I don't even know if being happy all the time is a good thing. You know what I mean? So
I'd be willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, if I'm gonna pick one, I'll pick happy for sure. But yeah, I love your mobilizing to organize, and what does that really look like? So somebody shows up, they get pointed in some direction, like at the No Kings protest yesterday up here in Huntsville. It felt like about 15 tables, maybe somewhere in that area, and these represented local organizations. Not all of them in the area. We're working on that. We're trying to get there. But so this person, they've shown up. Now they see one of these tables. They walk up to one of these tables, and that is joining a local organization, in my opinion, is the start to organizing. From there, there's different philosophies on whatever, but it simply put, that's when you put people together on a campaign and perform missions under that campaign. For instance, the campaign that y'all undertook with At the Root to fight for libraries, right? And that applied pressure successfully, in my opinion, applied pressure to the local Huntsville Madison library system. So actually got people to affect change, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, and I think, let me skip back just a minute, because I want to say a couple of things. So one thing is, I would say that organizing can happen right in your neighborhood that you're in. You don't need an organization for sure.
Okay.
Yep. And so what I mean by that is, like, everybody has gifts that they can offer. And oftentimes in movement work, what we end up doing is just, filtering people into roles that we've already created without recognizing necessarily what gifts, resources, talents that people have in general. And so we end up then shifting people into these categories where they best fit to what the group needs, what the organization needs. So this is a sort of different strategy, is saying, we know what our problems are, and we have everything we need right here to address those problems. And so what a People's Movement Assembly helps us to do is to move in the direction of both recognizing what our problems are, centering around political education and figuring out who is benefiting from us having those problems, and then getting to the systemic reasons why those problems are in existence. And once we can kind of narrow those things down, then what we can do is then secondly figure out, well, what can we actually do about this problem? So very often in movement work, so much like talking about how mobilizing work will often end on people burning out, because there's only like so much protesting. I've been protesting for a long time, and there are definitely been moments I've been burnt out from protesting, have trauma from protesting, all of that. And when we move from mobilizing to organizing, what we're doing is a shift to actually becoming change makers. If we know what our problems are and we know how to address them with solutions, we oftentimes in movements will make solutions that are addressing the exact problems instead of the roots of the problems. And so we have people who are unhoused and hungry, and we just feed them. And in Huntsville, we just give them a pad of concrete for them to live on in the middle of the hot summer. And so we may be addressing those needs, which is important because we do need people to survive, to be able to resist for certain. But if we're only ever doing that, then we're never getting at the roots of those problems. And so going through a PMA process allows you to get to the point where you are able as a community to say like, hey, this thing that we've been doing, like I was just joking tonight, like the chair of the Alabama Public Library Service Board his name is John Wall. Well, he has a different name actually, apparently, but his chosen name, and we're going to respect chosen names here, is John Wall. And John Wall has in this capacity, he's also the chair of the Alabama GOP. Now, we can keep, and we should keep, sending letters and calling him and trying to push him to be different than he fundamentally is. But if we keep doing that and they keep still sending down, these rules and changes to the codes to libraries that they have to comply with in order to get state funding, and we still just keep going to him and nothing ever changes, then, and at the same time, if we're not back in our spaces trying to do something about it here by creating, say, a people's library where we are not bound to the funding of the state and federal government, which really right now is like potentially not even there. So when we go through this process in the People's Movement Assembly, to cut it short, is that we want to get to the point where we're really thinking strategically about movement decisions that we're making. And if our movement decisions are happening because we're just trying to resist, but we're not trying to also build at the same time, then we're going to end up, as my dad would say, up shit creek without a paddle. I'm hopefully.
Ain't that right?
So our libraries are being threatened to have funding removed if they do not get rid of every piece of transgender material across the board. Just last year, we have been pushing, but just last year they were saying, oh, we just want to get the sexually explicit material out of the children's section, which was not there. And so they were able to, they're just moving what they call the Overton window. They're just moving step by step by step, and they're going to come after every single thing they don't agree with in the library. So the difference in strategy here is like is it best for us to spend our limited amount of time and capacity continuing to go at John Wall and Moms for Liberty and hope that they are going to change when they're just not going to? Or, yes, we should do that. I'm not saying that these are like an either or thing, but do we also need to be doing the work of building the library for the people, by the people, that is here, that is not going to be messed with? That is, in fact, what we're doing. So everyone should come out on the 28th of this month when Marjorie Taylor Greene comes to town. We are having an event called Marjorie Taylor Queen's Pride Book Drive, where we are asking folks to donate books to Shenanigans. Has a diversity library there. And so we have a space in our community where we know that all the books that could potentially be removed from the state-funded and locally funded library, where we know that those books are going to be, and every child, adult is going to be able to have access to them in our area. So that's a resist and build situation. And that's a solution that we want to kind of get to. So hopefully that explains like what the purpose of the PMA is. I think that everybody wants to show up and be, you know, we had people coming up yesterday. I'm a protest marshal too. So Austin and I were doing that at this event. And so trying to keep people safe, and folks were coming up like wanting to help because that's what people genuinely want to do. And I heard somebody recently say, like, one of our greatest needs is to be needed and for our talents to be wanted in this movement. And there's so much space for so many people, whether, you know, we just had someone join the collective who paints these little rocks that are in the shape of watermelons and paints little messages on them to read about the Nakba around Palestine, and leaves them just in little hidden spaces in different stores around town and grocery stores. Like, those are like gifts that people have that can be used to help resist. And we should have space for everyone in our movements. And so that is, yeah, you can tell I'm so passionate about it. I really feel like, in looking and studying social movements for like half my life now, a little bit less than half my life now, I feel like this is one of the best ways that we can actually make change and go ahead and live in the sort of realized reality that we want to eventually get to. Like, how do we create the world that we want right now and exist in it with each other, in community, with accountability processes that are, you know, creating something as we're trying to resist all of these other systems that are falling. Okay.
It's just such an amazing amount of information and all that answer, Marissa. Thank you very much. And just constantly impressed with the work you do and see you do, and with At the Root that y'all are doing. Y'all are making change in the world, and it's much appreciated. Y'all are leading the way and showing others how things can be done. So thank you. So also, so At the Root is part of the Southern Movement Assembly. So can you tell us a little more? You mentioned that they were created in the aftermath of Katrina, and they're a part of the People's Movement Assembly. So, and I think you also got to go to an event out in Atlanta. Was that related to that? But can you tell us a little more?
Yeah. So if anybody has heard of the U.S. and World Solidarity Economy Networks, like, a lot of these things are sort of dovetailed together. They're not exactly the same. But the Southern Movement Assembly, to step back, is a collective of organizations across the South. I think there's over 100, possibly more now, who formed together after Katrina, because they realized a few things, like I've already said, that we can't rely on the government to show up for us. I mean, Katrina was like really one of the first like in my lifetime.
Bell ringers.
Like, yeah, it was a important moment for people to realize just how finicky government support was going to potentially be. And now, like, seeing where we're in now, it's just such the juxtaposition of where we are now is dramatic. So what we know, W.E.B. Du Bois, famous Black sociologist, actually, but just such an important thinker, said, "As goes the South, so goes the nation." And it's kind of under that sort of thread that the Southern Movement Assembly came along. And that goes in a lot of different ways. Certainly, as fascism goes in the South, so goes the nation, definitely is true. But also as resistance movements and building movements come about, that is also true as well. So we did it. There were people from the Southern Movement Assembly who were at the conference just, I guess a month ago. It's the Resist and Build Conference. It's part of the Solidarity Economy Network here in the United States. And it was one of the biggest ones that they've ever had. There's a lot of people who are doing this work now. Folks in there are coming from a lot of different interests and backgrounds. So there's people who are doing, who are part of cooperative movements, both like worker-owned cooperatives, but also places like Cooperation Jackson. So Callie Acuna was there. Folks are familiar with the work down there. There were also folks there who are, reimagining ideas around family and birthing and how communities should be working together and community members, et cetera. There were lots of folks who are a part of land trust initiatives where we have community land space and, neighborhood justice work. There were folks from different organizations who are really trying to fight back against gentrification in Atlanta and elsewhere in the U.S. So there was a lot of folks from different perspectives around tenants unions. So just a beautiful group of folks. And I will say the one thing that I haven't said yet, and nobody can see me here, but I am a white woman. But these are the perspectives of Black and Indigenous communities. These are, the sort of social economic theory and practice that developed within those worlds. And so I think, it's something that is very fundamental to the South for sure, but these are old, just old ways of being in community with one another and resisting systems of oppression. So hopefully that answers the question. But yeah, so there's like the Southern Movement Assembly, but there are other places that have movement assemblies as well. But the goal here is if all of these organizations are moving in formation, because it turns out that when we get together at the Southern Movement Assembly, that our problems are quite aligned. The things that are happening to people in North Carolina are very similar to the things that are happening in Alabama. Legislation that's happening in Arkansas is the exact same legislation that's being introduced here. So if we all are kind of working in formation, meaning we have our spot and we know where we're at and we're able to reach out for resources and knowledge sharing and all of that, then we can work together collectively to change the South. And if we believe that W.E.B. Du Bois quote, then that will change the nation.
Yeah, we break their backs here, and they just broke, ain't they?
Yeah.
That's
right.
I love that. I love, especially, speaks to my military mind, moving in formation on an objective. And being able to call on, all your units, all your folks, get them all on the same page, and strategizing and executing tactics Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fundamental to our success. You spoke some about building a local spokes council, and it sounds like this is like a regional spokes council almost, connected to a national level movement. And it is fantastic to know that this work is being done because, a lot of people, they're just, 70% of folks are paycheck to paycheck. And when you can't pay the rent, you can't pay attention. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So getting this information out there and letting people know, because I believe that one of our primary missions as, organizers and activists is to educate people, because you really don't know what you can do till you know what you can do. It's you need to look back through history and what has been done and what did change, and you need to look at the present and see how the situation is slightly different, and it's slightly different over here than it is there, and who your allies are and where are they, and all this stuff. But there's a lot of people out there with good hearts that want, decency for the working class, and getting those folks from mobilized to organized is the trick, right?
That's right. And so many people this is no surprise to anyone here who lives in Alabama, that a lot of people have just been fed a lot of lies, and there's a lot of unlearning to do. And sometimes the way to help people unlearn is to create on-ramps by showing them where people are benefiting from them not being in power, where people are benefiting from overworking them and over policing them, and all of the systems of oppression, racializing them, etc. So I think, I think that it's important for people to be able to, within their capacity, to find ways. Not everybody has to be the person with the bullhorn. Not everybody has to be the person to develop an entire strategy. It may be that if you find a strategy that somebody is doing that works for you, and you have a space to be able to say, come in and just make banana bread for the people who are going to be showing up early to set up a protest, if that's all you can do, then that matters. Like, everybody has a spot in the world that we're trying to create. And so we really have to look at trying to create a space where people also don't get pigeonholed, because if one person is really good at, say, grant writing for a nonprofit or something, then that becomes their job. But guess what? People are multifaceted, and they might have other things that they want to do to contribute to movement. They may be very good at creating flyers or something, and that very well may be something that they want to do, but they also want to do other things as well. So this is just a different way, just recognizing that people are multifaceted, and giving everyone the ability to participate how they want and find their on-ramp. And hopefully that will change, open up people's eyes, change minds, and help them unlearn a lot of the harm that they have been taught.
Yeah. Life can be very, and for most of us, we've all suffered some trauma on some level, whether we realize it or not. But so what happens during and then after a people's movement assembly?
Yeah. So, oftentimes you go to, like, say, a training that's hosted by a group or an organization, and you spend all day at like a little conference or something, and then you leave and you're like, I don't really know what to do with all of this, but I know how something like the legislature works now. Great. And not to slight organizations who do those sorts of things, because they're important. But in this capacity, when people come into the space, this is just the beginning. People are participants and not just people who are registered to attend or attendees. So we actively work on a plan, and the idea at the end of it is that we will have an action plan for the next period of time. It may be a year, it may be 6 months, that we're going to work on, and then we make a commitment to come back together. From our movement assembly, we will be able to send 2 representatives to the Southern Movement Assembly, where people will be gathering from across the South to talk about the sort of frontline issues that people are facing, and it sets the agenda for the next year. And then at that level, we work to do whatever the things are for that year. And then at the next year, you just come back and do it again. And so what it does is creates a loop where people's problems might be changing, people's ideas of solutions that can be brought to those problems might be changing as well. And then they'll just feed back in, and we'll be able to continue this process of creating community. And I'm saying all of this about the assembly like it sounds like a conference, but it's also going to be a space where we're going to be able to practice community together. So one of the things that we have tried to do with this was to spend no money and just rely off of the community resources and talents and the gifts that people want to give for this space. So we are feeding everybody, and we have so far not spent money, but we are all out in our gardens. I picked a ton of green beans today, and all the tomatoes are going to be ripe just in time. We're going through, and I think many of us have like stashes of things like rice and grains that we've been keeping for when and if things go south. So we're pulling out those things, and we're going to be able to provide a meal for people based off of just what we all collectively bring together. But we're also going to have art, and we'll have spaces for remembrance of people who've been the victim of police violence this year and over the past few years here locally. We'll have a space to honor the land that we are settled on and have occupied, and the original inhabitants, and the folks like in Standing Rock and other places that are trying to push back against this colonization history. So we'll have a lot, and kids are welcome. We're going to have things for kids to do, and hopefully we're going to start to create a community where kids can also, and adolescents especially, can also participate in the People's Movement Assembly so that they can start working on being active participants in the future that they are going to inherit from us, and learning these strategies that are going to help them to be able to survive and hopefully thrive. To be better connected with the land we live on and the people that we live with. So it's all about creating the sort of space that we want to imagine. And so far it's been working. We turns out we have a whole lot of things that we need for a People's Movement Assembly. We also, I have to say this, because going to Atlanta to the Resist and Build conference, we're in a moment where we don't know a whole lot about the bird flu or any of these things that are possibly circulating. We know we have a new COVID variant in the country. So we were able to work with comrades in Atlanta and get over 600 COVID tests that we can now distribute in our community. I'm hoping we'll be able to have some Narcan there. So anybody can take it out and get that out in the community as well. We're going to have zines and lots of things for folks to be able to take back and see in action what resistance looks like, and building a different sort of community for ourselves as well.
Sounds like a slice of heaven.
Yes, that's what I wanted to. I hope it feels that way. That's what everyone is working so hard on. Seriously. Come and step out of where we're at and try to work together to create where we want to be.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I would love to have you here all night and on every week. But but I know you're worn out and you got a little one to tend to as well, and wifey. So Jason, did you have any other thoughts or questions before we decide to let her leave our presence?
No thoughts except, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this information with us.
Yeah. And hey, let me just tell your audience too. Y'all are a vital part of this. I'm talking about your audience. I'm talking about you, Jason, and you, Austin. You all have been in this. Like, we're making this happen together. So this isn't like, here's the thing that At the Root is doing. No, we're just facilitating what's already existing here. We are in community. We are this is such a good group of folks here. And there's so much possibility about what we can build. So I just appreciate y'all. I consider you like family. And I thank you for letting me come on and chat.
It was definitely our pleasure.
The only way you get to leave is if you promise to come back.
I will. Oh my gosh, I will definitely be back. I promise. I've got plenty to say. I appreciate y'all.
Hey, thank you very much for coming on. Everybody that's listening, this is Marissa from At the Root and DSA, and I should have been calling you doctor this whole damn time.
Right.
Give you your what's it, accolades? I guess that's an accolade, ain't it? But yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to call me that, Austin, but I appreciate it. Let's work towards a world where credentialing doesn't matter, because all of us have a lot of knowledge to share and a lot to learn from each other. That's how I feel about it. So appreciate it. Y'all can call me Ma. That's what I like.
All right, Ma. We like that. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming. And everybody, try to come to the event on the 21st. We got it up here on the screen, and we dropped the sign in the chat. Root, Build, Liberate, a People's Movement Assembly. And yeah.
Make sure to register for sure, so we know how many people we got to feed. So go ahead and register, and we'll send out some information soon too that you can get to it on that website. Thank you.
And spread the word. Thank you for coming. We'll see you. Solidarity forever, sister.
Solidarity, Austin and Jason. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
We have
amazing guests like every time. Every time.
The best moments to show when we have guests.
She pumped me up too, dog. She pumped me up too. Damn, I can't wait to have her again already. Because there's so much we could talk about. She's also, Corey mentioned economics and building different economic structures, and that's actually, if I recall correctly, that's something that she actually did her thesis on, and has a lot of knowledge in circular economies, social circular economies, something like that. So she is, she's a real deal, and it's honored to get to know her. And I hope all y'all folks out there listening, like, if reach out, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about anything. And she always gives such incredible insight and wisdom and support. So I can't speak enough good things about her. So yeah. And with that, where are we at?
This week in socialism.
Oh goodness, thank you. I'm glad somebody knows where the hell we are. Oh my goodness. This week in socialism, y'all. So we've got, we're in June. Okay. So we left off on the 8th of last Sunday. So Eric, so this is the 9th, June 9th, in 1917, Eric Hobsbawm, W.M., Marxist historian, was born. On the 10th, about 500,000 mourners witnessed Socialist Congressman Meyer London's funeral. Now, I looked this man up and that was as far as I got into research for this week. But he represented the Lower East Side of Manhattan and was one of only 2 members of the Socialist Party of America elected to the United States Congress. And, I read through a little bit, and he died fairly young at 54. And I'm going to read real quick. London died on Sunday, June 6, 1926, as he was crossing 2nd Avenue at 15th Street. He was caught in the middle of heavy automobile traffic passing in both directions. London became confused, and when he halted by a driver of a car, suffered internal injuries. The driver rushed him to Bellevue Hospital, where London's daughter was an intern. When she saw her father, London's only concern was that the driver not be punished. "It's not his fault," said London, "and he is a poor man." So I found the way he went out was fairly interesting. So on June 11th, students for a Democratic Society start drafting the Port Huron Statement in 1962. On the 12th, 1 million people rally in Central Park to demand nuclear disarmament, 1982. On the 13th, rebels enter London, attack prisons, and destroy Savoy Palace during English Peasants' Revolt, 1381. And then we got Jose Carlos Maria Tegue, Peruvian socialist intellectual, born 1894. I probably murdered his last name on that. And then we got today, Father's Day, where the Freedom Summer voter registration drives kick off in 1964. So, yeah, that was a little bit of This Week in Socialism. Jay, did you have anything for this week?
I had a couple of things, just bring it to Alabama a little bit. June the 11th was the 62nd anniversary of the stand in the courthouse stand in the schoolhouse door by George Wallace, where he said segregation now, segregation forever. He blocked 2 black students from trying to enter the University of Alabama in order to register. So,
yeah, also around the last time, relatedly, National Guard getting deployed against the governor's wishes in the state, much like that happened out in California.
Right, Wallace was the governor at the time, and John F. Kennedy federalized the National Guard in order to get Wallace to step aside. Eventually, he did move, and the 2 black students were able to complete their registration. But George Wallace, if you don't know, the longest-serving governor in Alabama history. So he served from 63 to 67, again in 71 to 79, and again from 83 to 87. So he was the governor when I was born. I won't tell you which of those decades I was born in.
Yeah.
He's also the third-party candidate who's received the most votes of any third-party candidate ever, which tells you something about America. But it's important
for the presidential race, right?
Yeah. He lost that race. He lost his bid to maintain segregation forever. And yeah, so that's part of Alabama history. And on a somewhat happier note, tomorrow is the anniversary of Valentina Tereshkova being the first woman in space as part of the Soviet space program.
You tell me it wasn't that Perry lady?
Sally Ride, you mean?
No. Oh yeah, I done forgot about her. No, Katie, wasn't she the first one? I remember distinctly then, like, kind of skipping on the fact that you know, it was done by the USSR back in the day. That they didn't. They go, this is the first time in a long time since some women went to space.
They always say Sally Ride, and I don't mean to knock Sally Ride or her achievements, but it's worth pointing out that in 1963, the same year as George Wallace's stand in the schoolhouse door, the same year that Medgar Evans got shot. So on June 16th, Valentina Tereshkova at 26 became the first woman in space. So she was on the Soviet spacecraft Vostok 6, and Vostok means east. I don't know why they named the ship East. They just did, I guess. She manually controlled the spacecraft, completing 48 orbits in 71 hours before landing safely. Usually Soviet spacecraft names make sense, right? Like their Venus probe was called Venera, and Venera is the Russian word for Venus, so that makes sense. But I don't know why they named it Vostok.
So she was 71 hours. She was like awake up there piloting, huh?
48 orbits in 71 hours before landing safely. She manually controlled the spacecraft. I don't know. Maybe she was. I hope she wasn't awake for 71 hours.
Well, it's possible. I've done 72 hours of duty several times. Not easy, and I don't think she'd have a coffee maker in that damn thing.
The Soviet cosmonauts had vodka rations. It was quite scandalous among. See, Elizabeth So yeah, it's true. He didn't say that while he was standing in the schoolhouse door. He said that as part of his inauguration, during his inaugural speech when he was at the state capitol. That is true, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
exactly.
Again, Elizabeth, why aren't you on this show?
Right.
All right. So,
So I can't get away with BSing you guys.
We had some articles to get to. We also have the No Kings protest to get to. I feel like we can only do one or the other, and I feel like, yes, I thought that was you. And actually, yeah, Elizabeth here. If you don't know, you can send signs to the archive and have your sign archived in the history records down in Alabama, down in Montgomery. I mean, we're in Alabama, ain't we? But yeah, you also apparently send used socks to the governor and have them archived for the history records as well, as official correspondence. But so yeah, there was the No Kings protest all across the country and around the world. I even saw one, I think, in Brazil. And we were there, folks. We got to take part in the Huntsville protest, but there were at least, my reckoning, 14 throughout the state.
That's what I have too, 14.
Yeah. There's one of the singers, did awesome. Michaela Burnell. I think she went by Kai though. And Mikhailo. That's probably how you pronounce it. God dog, I need to get better at names. We had 4, Alex and Cheryl and somebody else. My apologies for not recalling. But we had singers and speakers. We had, oh man, we had everybody out at Butler Green, and they spontaneously just started getting on the sidewalk next to the road. And I mean, I didn't get I was trying to get a final head count, but I wasn't able to get one. But we were in the thousands, is what I was seeing. What did you think, Jay?
I would be surprised if there weren't at least 1,000 people there. Somewhere between 500 and 1,000. I think it was 1,000 people, honestly.
Yeah, because we had the green
crowd size. We had it, but the crowd was huge.
Yeah, and they didn't care that it rained, and we had a whole lot of folks represented. Were tabling out there. Alabama Progress, DSA, Young Palestinians. We had medic tent, and there's one of the four counter protesters. Yeah, the counter protesters weren't really there.
There were 4 of them there, and every news article I have read about the event went out of their way to mention them, and like a couple of them interviewed them, and I was just like, really? There's such a nothing story over there. If this had been the other way around, the giant Trump rally with 4 anti-Trump people, they never would have covered the anti-Trump people.
Yeah, this veteran against Trump right here went and talked to him, and there's a couple other activists that went up and talked to him too. I love this picture right here. We got Lady Liberty on the right, and one of our stalwarts who comes in the handout outfit. We saw Palestinian flags, Mexican flags, American flags, pride flags, all the flags show up. Yeah, they are getting an outrageous amount of coverage compared to everybody else. And at one point, there's just a stream of cars circling, honking and honking in support. Here we go, Mexico. And yeah, there was a few things that went down with all this across the state. But who else was there, Jay?
Let's see. Well, DSA was there. Alabama Progress was there.
Yep.
At the Root had a table. The Huntsville Young Palestinian group was there.
Yep.
Who else?
Love Huntsville was there.
Yeah, Love Huntsville was there.
This is where professionalism helps, folks. Where we have a list, and
we should have made a list, and
remember things or things like that.
We should have recorded your speech.
Yeah, we actually do have the speech if we get to it. Maybe we show it next week, but
yeah, I have some other thoughts about the protests too, and I'm thinking that we'll wait for next week.
Okay. But yeah, there's a little there's one person, well, I'll get to that. This one first. This young man got punched by a counter protest. I was walking along the street, and there was a guy. He had a sign that said something along the likes that was pro-ICE and encouraged them to do their job. Said Miller 25 in Mobile, holding bloody tissues to his nose. As other demonstrators checked on him near the corner of Government and Claiborne Streets. I was like, "Hey, man!" And he was like, "Oh, hell no!" The next thing I know, he sucker punched me, and I was on the ground, still reeling from the blow. I got hit in the back of the head. I fell to the ground. Yeah.
Hit somebody in the back, sucker punch somebody in the back of the head.
Yeah, I feel all right for the most part. So that, as far as violence, the violent left did not coalesce in any form across the state. But that happened down in Mobile. There was a speaker arrested out in Scottsboro who apparently had a ticket for something. Cops identified him and scooped him up. But who came to the rescue? The bail fund. That's right. So shout out the Huntsville Bail Fund for helping them out, and hope they get to their home very quickly. I hope they're back now. I'm not sure, but word spread through the community and support was there for when they needed it. Some more articles. Some of the places: Gunnersville, Florence, Huntsville, Athens, Fort Payne, Scottsboro, and Pulaski, Tennessee. Don't know why they threw that up there, but sure. I'm glad they were there. Attendance varied from a few hundred in Scottsboro to several thousand in Huntsville. Yep.
So they're saying several thousand. See, I'm terrible at estimating crowd sizes. It was just a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, what kind of, like, where does that skill come into place? Like, it's not something you do every day, right? But there's violent protesting and not, where is that? During the Huntsville rally, several young demonstrators wearing apparel supporting President Trump appeared across the road from the protest, leading to some shouting back and forth. Eventually, the two sides met for a brief dialogue.
See what I'm saying? They're getting quite a bit of coverage, more coverage.
Blazed.
And there was like 4 of them.
Oh, listen to this. We weren't yelling at each other. We were having a civil. This is from one of the anonymous Trump supporters. We were having a civil conversation, which I feel like not just the left, but the right can't do. And with that little statement, I'd like to remind folks, it's not left and right, it's up and down. Yeah, it's up and down is what we're dealing with. Rich folks are up here, and then the working class is down here. So try to remove some of that narrative in your words and your thinking, right?
See, I struggle with that because I really do hate these people.
Well, that's all right. You can hate them, and I find grace and love for them, and it'll all work out in the wash. Yeah. I feel like that's a very rare thing that happens. It's a civil conversation between two people. So you can like be brewing in the background behind me, serving as backup as I talk to them about rich folks and eating them. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, they talked about people's rights. Athens police said they had no problem whatsoever in their city. Scottsboro said there was one arrest, but it was unrelated to the event itself. This is what I was stating earlier. There was some consternation from various law enforcement officials. Have all of them, but for instance, there's this DeKalb County Sheriff issues stark warning. Listen to this guy earlier. Oh my God, is that video running? Oh my goodness. Well, y'all can check this out. This is on Rocket City now. But he's said various myths about things and thinking this, that, and the other. But here's one of his quotes. But that's how you get shot and killed over here, right? We'll get you shot and killed in a hurry if you start throwing rocks and sticks or get you run over, blocking the road, not letting people through.
They're wearing ballistic armor, and they're going to shoot and kill you because you threw a rock or a stick.
Yeah.
What a bastard.
Yeah, and there's some of this. The stand your ground on steroids debate emerges over drivers hitting protesters in Alabama. Got some pictures in Mobile right here. Yeah. Today kill Mar, tomorrow you. Exactly. That the rich folks will come for you too. They certainly will. You don't believe me? Okay. Look through history. They'll come for you. But, various other things. Mobile County Sheriff Paul Birch stirred controversy this week with blunt remarks about using vehicles in self-defense if protesters block the roads. I didn't by any means insinuate plowing through a crowd at 55 miles per hour, Birch said Monday's clarifying comment Talk 106.5 the day before, in which he said that nothing will happen to a driver if they hit protesters with their car. But when you start blocking highways and roadways, it's no longer a protest. It's rioting behavior, and you're restricting the movement for people. He went further. If you feel you're in danger, you can legally push your way through a crowd with that vehicle. If someone is too stupid to move out of the way, that's on them. Imagine being surrounded with your family in the car by people banging on the car. Birch is not alone in his rhetoric. DeSantis has suggested the drivers feel unsafe, can use their vehicle. And they actually passed a law either last year or the year before that made it legal for folks to do that. Sheriff in southeastern Florida warned that a crowd surrounding the vehicle could be dragged across the street. These remarks came prior to all echo a growing trend in Republican-led states. It goes on. This is on AL.com. Stand your ground on steroids, and it goes on quite a bit. Alabama State Rep Alan Treadway, a Republican from Birmingham and a former assistant police chief with the city's police department, said any driver who plows through a crowd of people will be charged with a serious crime. Looks like they have a little bit of difference of opinion on people plowing through crowds. This picture is from 2023, a protest in the killing of Steve Perkins by Decatur police. And this was at an event at a hotel that Kay Ivey was speaking at. They certainly they certainly said some things this week. I'll say that. This guy, straight out of Central Casting, Huey Hoss Mack, the executive director of the Alabama Sheriff's Association, speaks out in support of newly introduced HB 20 during a news conference. This is June 12, 2025, at the Baldwin County Satellite Courthouse in Fairhope. Legislation introduced by State Rep Matt Simpson, Republican Daphne, adds to the definition of capital murder whenever a murder occurs, it could also cause a risk of death to multiple people. And he said he supports provision who is driving and who's surrounded by a mob that is on a public street or highway. At the same time, he said lawmakers need to have a frank discussion about the concerns over people who utilize a vehicle to plow through crowds. The vehicle is just as deadly as any gun that has been built. We have to make sure we are addressing the comprehensive problems of these individuals who are basically committing a terrorist act, whether it be domestic or not. In today's environment, is something we have to discuss. So it's actually almost like it. That sounds reasonable. So, yeah. With a public protest that is sanctioned, the police and local jurisdiction grants where you can or can't go. That's done to protect the participants, whether it's the protesters or the counter protesters. The thing for police is maintain public safety. making sure you don't have a civil disturbance. And that is something yesterday on the side of the street with the counter protesters. I think there's 4 or 5 of them over there hanging out the whole time. But this article goes on. And yeah, so all in all, the protests across the state were safe and a beautiful thing to take part of and see. And we're getting here at an hour and 45, and there's more I wanted to talk about. But what you want to hit anything before we start wrapping up here?
Well, I had some material prepared about the upcoming primaries in Alabama, and I had some material prepared about the protests, but I think that's going to have to wait for next week because we're already 15 minutes over.
Yeah, we always seem to run over.
And yeah, that's amazing about what Elizabeth says about the protest in Enterprise. Enterprise was not on the list of events that I have. I have Auburn, Birmingham, Dadeville, Dothan, Florence, Fort Payne, Gunnersville, Huntsville, Jacksonville, Mobile, Montgomery, Scottsboro, Selma, and Tuscaloosa. And apparently there was one in Enterprise.
15.
So there was at least 15 then. So that's pretty good.
That is outstanding. Thank you for that information, Elizabeth. Yeah, I didn't see Enterprise either. So yeah, we always got something to talk about, folks. We got a new show on Wednesdays, Slop. We'll hit some. Maybe we'll talk more about that stuff this week on here. But it's a show where we, trying to look outside the U.S. a little bit and a little bit different format and a lot faster. And so, yeah, if you're looking to check out something on Wednesdays at 8, we got Slop. But yeah,
I can figure out how to stream my Switch too. It may even feature me playing Mario Kart World badly.
Yes. While I narrate. Oh, did you see? They're gonna bring NASCAR down to Mexico now.
No, I missed that.
Well, yeah. I mean, talk about like, I don't know, integration and cross culturalization, right? Yeah. NASCAR, not something that I would have had on my bingo card growing up. But real quick, this right here, early straw poll by the College Republican Federation of Alabama for next year's state election shows strong support for U.S. Senator Tom as the next governor. Members showed this is Republicans now, 77.9 support and other at 22.1%. No other names were listed. So be ready, folks, for some of the dumbest shit ever.
So Will Boyd has announced that he's going to run for governor on the Democratic side. So I don't know if he'll face a primary challenger, but he's local to North Alabama. He actually ran for Congress against Mo Brooks in 2016. He lost that race. He ran for lieutenant governor in 2018, and he lost to Will Ainsworth. And then he ran for the Senate against Katie Britt in 2022 and lost to Katie Britt. So now he's going to be running for governor. So he's sort of a perennial candidate, I guess, but he has a solid platform.
He's like our Beto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Well, and you said he has a solid platform.
Well, his platform is like mostly general principles rather than specific policies, but he mentions the environment. He mentions economic power of workers and wanting to work with the labor unions. So
those are good fundamentals to build on For sure.
So, you know,
Yeah. I did see that Will Boyd article. Oh my goodness, so many things I wanted to get to.
yeah, I know.
Uh, uh,
Let's go with material
let's do
connection.
one more little thing. One more little thing before I go. Before we go, the American military veterans strongly oppose Trump's birthday military parade and the firing of VA workers. This is on dataforprogress.org. Um, and there's some very interesting polls in here. Uh, you know, slight favorability right here to Donald Trump, split on Vance at 41-41. So like a lot of people think like vets are just like in the bag for Trump, and it's not the case. So that when you're organizing and talking to people, and 52% against, or I'm sorry, yeah, 70% against the parade, a 96% rate with Democrats, 71 with third party Republicans, 95%, 66% overall oppose the cuts to the VA, with 95 with Democrats, 69 with third parties, and 48 with Republicans. More than 3 in 4 veterans oppose the Trump administration instructing the military to remove materials on the achievements of women and minority groups. 76 overall, 97 with the Democrats, 75 with independents, and 68 with Republicans. Nearly half say we should deploy fewer troops in the Middle East. 57 with the Dems, 42 with independents, and even 48 higher than independents with Republicans. And this one I love. Veterans strongly support policies relating to increasing the availability of clean energy jobs. 86 support, 85 support, or 86 support connecting veterans to clean energy jobs. 85 education and transition into clean energy jobs. 77 proving more clean energy projects. How woke are veterans, folks? And American veterans strongly support protections for military veterans who are non-citizens. 77 support granting, 71 allowing deported non-citizens to return, 68 ending the practice of deporting non-citizens. This is specifically veterans right here, but you would find similar numbers. I'm going to guess with the average non-citizen immigrant, because there's a lot of vets out there in the streets right now. So shout out my vets, love them. Wow. And yeah, Jay, anything else?
Well, I just want to give a special shout out to Corey. It's always good to see you in the chat. And the MVP this week is Elizabeth for keeping us accurate.
Yes. Yeah, and I think Elizabeth is actually running some training on histories and stuff like that. So if you're not in the Alabama Progress server, join it. You'll find a whole lot of like-minded people there that are just trying to make working class people just trying to make things better. And Elizabeth, a wealth of knowledge, and is doing some instruction on the Alabama Constitution and the history. Yeah, there we go. Yep. Yes, I am doing a session on Tuesday on Alabama's Constitution. I hope to be there. I don't think I will be able to because I think I'm running a DSA meeting that day. But, hey, nah, we ain't too kind. We're we're like mid, as the kids say.
Yeah, we're very mid. It's a very mid show.
But yeah.
I aspire to mid.
Hey, I mean, what's wrong with mid, guys? Seriously, mid
Someone
gets you through the
Someone has
day.
to be mid. Statistically speaking, somebody has to be mid. And why not us?
Exactly. Exactly. The middest broadcast you've ever seen. So yeah.
Next week we'll have some updates on Alabama politics and maybe some more thoughts on the No Kings protests. So I had kind of a spiel written.
Oh, we definitely got to do that. Definitely got to do that. Yeah.
And yeah.
We might talk about the insanity in the Middle East. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Nothing. That it all dies down by this time Wednesday. But we shall see. Yeah. Mids actually get you more fucked up anyway, says Chris. Yeah, I think Chris has a point. So yeah, folks. Thank y'all for being here. Hey, spread the word, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We can't do this without y'all. And you know, it's time for the working class to maybe take power for the first time in the state and really change things. And it's done one little show at a time, one little protest at a time, a phone call at a time, feeding somebody. You know, all these things add up to and create a momentum that is inevitable. So be inevitable, folks. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. That means a lot.
It does. So yeah, with that, as we like to say around here, all the power to all the people. We the people break our chains together. Solidarity forever, y'all.
Solidarity forever.